The season is over. It's effectively over for the Los Angeles Rams. What a year. What a year, what a season it has been. Unlike anything I've ever watched, honestly. To go into a season expecting greatness and then to just be dealt bad hand after bad hand, body blow after body blow, just dumb luck, tough luck, all of that. The whole year as a team, just brutal. Really a brutal season. It was ended perfectly. You perfectly encapsulate what this season has been for the Rams with the end of the game that we just saw. I had to take some time. Normally, I am just ready to go. Let's go live. Let's talk about it. That pushed me, man. That pushed me. Look, okay, no fair weatherness here. No fair weather fan here. I know I had a YouTube channel, during the Super Bowl run. I had a YouTube channel before the Super Bowl run, and I'll have a YouTube channel after the Super Bowl run. So while there were people asking, because I actually got comments and DMs, hey, Jake, Sean McVay might hang it up. Are you going to hang it up? Like, are you done with covering the Rams? I'm not done with covering the Rams, okay? So don't worry about that. I've seen worse teams. This type of season, I don't think I've ever seen. Not even talking about the game yet, just wow. Wow. Just, that's all I can say. I mean, they outplayed Seattle yet again, and just at the end of the day, you could say they blew it, but man, I kind of towed the line a little bit, because, you don't want to blame the refs for every little thing. But holy shit. This game felt gift wrapped, gift bagged, and handed to the Seattle Seahawks. Don't get me wrong. The Rams had a shot at the end of the game. They had the possession in overtime. They get the nice stop. Defense is exhausted. So I'm not blaming them for giving up the game, because they're absolutely exhausted. But first off, I take, irony and somewhat, it's kind of a little bit of a funny thing, but also kind of negative, that the Rams, of course, would finish with 16 points on the year. They pretty much average 16 a game. So they finished with 16 in this game, and they give up 19, which is exactly what, we've talked about. What is this defense all about doing? Holding them under 20. So the defense did their job, and the offense just at the end of the day was held to 16. But I would be absolutely doing a disservice to the fan base to not believe, with you guys that this game, there was some, I'm not saying by the NFL, but, I know the head official is from Seattle, Craig Rolstad. And I know people, they might not like me talking about the officiating, but let's be honest here. It's not a bias thing. It's not. And you know how I know it's not a bias thing? Is because I see it all over Twitter. Everyone's talking about this. Everyone is talking about this. It's one thing if it were just Rams fans. No offense to you guys. But if it was just all of the Rams fans, like including myself, talking about this, okay, there's a little bias there. I mean, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that it's not possible, but there's a little bias there. What I've seen the last 20 to 30 minutes, it's just tweet after tweet with referee jerseys. I got my new Seattle Seahawks jersey. It's a referee, jersey. Stuff about Craig Rolstad being from Seattle. Stuff like, there was a really good tweet actually from, let's see, who was it? This Todd Furman, former odds maker turned co-founder of Bet the Board Pod and analyst at CBS Sports. Okay. So you got a big dog. I mean, the dude's got what? 153,000 followers on Twitter. Fourth quarter today in Seattle. Roughing the punter that wasn't. Late hit that wasn't on Ramsey. Metcalf not being called for hands in the face mask. Geno Smith not being called for intentional grounding. Diggs not being called for taunting. This is an officiating clinic. And I tend to agree. Again, I don't like complaining about the refs the entire time. We're going to talk about football. But, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow morning. At some point or another, the NFL has to step in. Because now that you have legalized betting, you have legal betting on all these sports, okay? And I do it, everyone does it, that, obviously legally. Not everybody, but, now that you have legal betting, you can't afford to just have these officials making these certain calls that affect the course of the game, that keep teams alive, that keep their dreams alive, that give games to teams, and not have any sort of accountability held against them. Not forcing them to speak at the podium. I mean, if the players have to do it, if the coaches have to do it, then why do the officials not have to do it? It wasn't just this game. I saw all day. I saw it especially in the Jets and Dolphins game. Game 6-6. Winner is going to be whoever scores first. And man, the Jets game, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a call where I want to say one of the linebackers, I don't remember which, I think it was Quincy Williams, comes over and he tries to make a tackle. I think Jalen Waddle. And he grabs his jersey number on his jersey and kind of like drives him backwards. And they called it a horse collar. Mind you, a horse collar tackle is when you take the collar, you go underneath, you take the collar and rip them down backwards. The horse collar is not taking the middle of the number and ripping them down. That's not a horse collar tackle. That gave the Dolphins 15 yards, an automatic first down after a really nice stop for the defense on the Jets, and a game-winning field goal for Jason Sanders to send the Dolphins to the playoffs, to eliminate the Steelers from playoff contention, and to give the Jets their 10th loss of the year. So I already saw that earlier in the day. And then I see this. And it was just like call after call. After the third quarter, it just felt like there was something going on. The Rams outplayed Seattle for the second time this year and lost both games. But this game just stings more than any of them. I've never been this upset about a game that virtually meant nothing. Okay? I've never been this upset about a game that virtually meant nothing ever. I mean, the Rams really outplayed Seattle. You can look at the you can look at the yards, all of that. The Rams were up by 13-6. Seattle came back. They ran the ball well. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Rams went away from it, but I think their defense played well, and they should have won this game. And they should have won it on the road, despite the fact that they were getting screwed over by the officials. I'm sorry, but the worst call by far is the roughing the kicker call. Because to me, if you push a player into the kicker, that should nullify anything, okay? You're forcing that. I actually would argue there should be a penalty on you. Like, you're the jackass pushing another player into your player. That was awful. That was terrible. Just such a disappointing end to the season. But then again, it was such a disappointing season. The Rams only won one game on the road. They went 1-7. They go 5-12. And now we're hearing all this stuff about Sean McVay that's really conflicting to what I've been hearing and what I just, said on the podcast the other day, because he came out and said it. He was like, LA's where I want to be. Now all of a sudden there's all this stuff going on. Like, oh, Sean McVay might leave and all that. Man, I don't know how to feel. I really don't. So, look, I had a donation earlier. I'm trying to find the super chat, and I just found it. Jay, give it to us straight. McVay out, looks it. I don't think there's a straight answer here because I don't think so. But like now all of a sudden you have all these guys coming out and reporting stuff. I don't know. All I can tell you right now is that I've been told that it's positive on the Rams side. Okay. It's positive on the Rams side. They think, he'll be back or based on what I'm hearing is that the expectation is that he'll likely be back. But he's going to take time to mull this over, which, okay, fine. But then, that was right before Glazer comes out and kind of makes it sound like he's out. Ian Rappaport kind of made it sound like he's not out, but he is considering, his other opportunities and alternatives. Schefter made it sound like he's just taking some time. And Peter Schrager made it sound like no one knows. We don't know. He doesn't know. Sean McVay doesn't know yet. So here's the thing, okay? He just said the other day that LA is where he wants to be. So whether it's ignorant of me to do it or not, I'm going to stick by those words. I don't think he owes anybody any other explanations until that happens. So that is what we'll say in regards to that. We can talk about who would replace him and all that, but I do want to talk more about the game and answer your questions. What's up, Jake and Ramley? Terrible officiating this season has been hellacious. Totally agree. It's really frustrating. A frustrating season. Couldn't ever predict something like this. Just 5-12, a complete opposite of 12-5, which is what they went last year to win the Super Bowl. Just bizarre. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. McVay said, I'm here right now. I'm here right now, and we'll deal with that stuff at a later time when asked about his future. Yeah, that's not an answer. So he went from earlier in the week, because something must have changed that, because he went from earlier in the week saying, I'm here, this is where I want to be, and now whatever. I don't know how you let this stuff get leaked, but whatever. I'm sure 90% he is gone. I'm heading opposite. Hearing Rams would be surprised if he even comes back. Let's see. NFL needs to find refs. They have been really bad. Jesse, thank you so much for donating, as well as you, Darius. Thank you so much. 100% agree. I think it's time to start finding the officials. Okay, they get paid $200,000 a year, so it's not like, they're working, retail, barely making ends meet. I don't feel bad, okay? Do your job better. It's gotten to the point where it is ridiculous. And we're now starting to see the level of quality of officiating is just going down rapidly. And until they hold them accountable in some way, shape, or form, it will remain that way. And there are plenty of stories in the past, like Bernie Kukar in the first Super Bowl at the Rams and Patriots, being friends with Bill Belichick and still being allowed to be the head official of that Super Bowl. Conflict of interest matters at any job, right? Most of the jobs in the industry, you look at the workforce. Oh, you can't work with your brother, your sister. You can't, hire your aunt, your uncle, your wife. There are a lot of companies that have those things in place because of conflict of interest, and the NFL just doesn't seem to care. Going back to Kukar, looking at Rolstad being from Seattle, no sort of conflict of interest there ever crossed their minds. Like, hey, this guy could literally give Seattle a chance to go to the playoffs. If he were to want to do that, at the end of the day, it's just, it's a shit show. It really is. And they have to figure it out, because for the first time, I actually said something that I say a lot about the NBA. I say a lot, about college football. It is becoming unwatchable. The NFL is becoming unwatchable with some of the calls. I watched Tom Brady get sacked on third down earlier in the year to the Falcons. They would have punted the ball. The Falcons would have had the ball. They would have been able to go down the field and potentially win the game. They called it roughing the passer. Okay. I saw the Jets play. I saw the Rams game today. There are too many missed calls. You look at the Washington call that altered their season entirely, to not throw the flag there, to throw a flag on a touchdown run. Look, there's too many of these missed calls that are impacting the quality of sport And it's just getting to be ridiculous. Basketball, there's a foul every 2 plays. It feels like it's unbelievable. And now football's starting to be ridiculous with the missed calls, letting them get away with murder. And then if it's not that, then they're calling shit like Geno Smith, the roughing the passer call, which that call, or not roughing the passer, but late hit out of bounds when he runs into Jalen Ramsey. To me, that's not the spirit of that call. That's not what the call is for. That's not why that's in the rule book. It's meant for somebody that is already run out of bounds, and then you are in bounds and you run out of bounds to make contact. It is a late hit. When somebody runs out of bounds into a guy that's already out of bounds, there's no late hit out of bounds. He didn't go out of bounds to make a late hit. It's not a late hit. It's just the act of the play, and the fact that they called that was total bullshit. And it was just, there was a lot of that today. So it's just been a complete shit show. At the end of the day, I don't want to talk about the officials the whole time because there's a lot of football we got to get to. We got to talk, about these players and what they were able to do. They put it all on the line for Sean McVay today. If this is his last game, you could definitely see the defense was pumping. They put it all on the line, and Jalen Ramsey coming away with 2 interceptions. My guy Quentin Lake almost had an interception. That was a crucial moment in the game. That might have changed the game if he holds on. But you look at Cam Akers coming away with a 21 carry, 104-yard game, huge game for him. Once again, back to back to back, 100-yard games for him. He finishes the season strong. Van Jefferson looked good. Higbee, was able to get that receptions mark, his career high in receptions. Atwell had the touchdown, like the way they used him. Baker, he struggled today. Okay. It was not a good day at the office for Baker Mayfield. Really struggled. I thought Seattle had a nice game plan coming in defensively, gave him a lot of pressure, got to him a lot. I highlighted on Believe in Rams, boy, McVay being a problem, and he certainly was. But shout out to Quentin Lake of, the LA Rams rookie who has not really played at all this year, had to jump in there. With the injury to Rust Yeast. Unfortunately, Yeast hurt his chest and was ruled out for the game. Lake led the team in tackles. He had a sack. He had a tackle for a loss. He had a pass breakup, and he had a almost interception, pretty much interception that, he just happened to look back to see if he could run it, tries to tuck it in, and drops it. So, liked what I saw out of Quentin Lake. 3 sacks today for the Rams. Floyd had a sack, and Hoyt had a great sack. 9 tackles for loss for the Rams, 6 pass breakups, 5 hits on the quarterback, including 3 out of Leonard Floyd. Look, the defense gave it their all. Okay, it's really frustrating, but you can't blame the defense. At the end of the day, you give up 19 points, you should win every game. If you're going to overtime and you still only give up 19 points with an extra quarter of play, I'm sorry, your defense balled out and your offense didn't do enough. And could I sit here and say that Sean McVay absolutely abandoned the run once again? Sure, but Akers did run the ball 21 times. So, at least he got those carries in. It was a frustrating day. They definitely should have won the game. It's basically another example of what this whole season has been for the Rams. They should have won the game. They forced 2 interceptions on Geno Smith in a game where, man, this is to potentially keep your season alive and go to the playoffs. Geno didn't show up. I don't think Geno played all that well. They were carried by the running back, Kenneth Walker III, the rookie that went over 1,000 yards. Tyler Lockett had a day, but aside from that, the Rams defense held Metcalf to 40 yards receiving. They held Fant to 20 yards receiving. They held Lockett to 54, who caught a touchdown. But aside from that, they did a really good job in this one. And I just don't think they're going to get enough credit. They really deserve credit, for their play. But, looking at this, McVay had a sack. Kobe Bryant had a sack. Nwosu got in there. Bruce Irvin, Darrell Taylor. Again, credit their game plan, the way that they pressured Baker. I thought that, McVay could have done better, in preparing, the offense and getting them ready for this defense and just sticking with the run. I think they tried too much to throw and play backyard football when it wasn't there. And it ended up crushing their, that was the last play of the season for them. Baker throws the interception. That's the season for the Rams. as far as the offense goes. So, yeah, Seattle wins the game. It all depends on what happens tonight. Lions, Packers. I have the Lions winning the game, although that was before this. I kind of felt like, the Lions would propel, but I think the Packers are going to win tonight now after, seeing this. It's really, really unfortunate to end a season like this, but I'm just glad it's over, to be honest with you. I don't take any of these games, these weeks, this time with you guys for granted. But I'm a little not burned out, but I'm a little over, this type of season. It's been a rough year. I'm ready to kind of have a little bit of a reset, look at it more from the off-season perspective, and then be able to start diving into the film. When you go back and you watch the prospects this year, coming out in the NFL draft, I'm excited to find some guys and talk about them. So, it's going to be a little bit of a shift, from what this, channel normally is. And for those that are wondering, I'm still planning on covering the Jets next season as well. I'm going to ramp that up more. I think this year it was kind of a trial, and, I don't think I did my best job. I'll be the first one to say that. It's hard. You put out a Rams video, gets 1,000 views in an hour during the season, and the Jets video that you put just as much effort into gets about 100 views over 5 hours or whatever. Then you're like, you're a little, it kind of discourages you. So just trying to, figure it all out, and hopefully I will. But yeah, very, very tough year. It's not going to be simple. There's a lot to work on, and we'll see with this team, man. But, I think there's a lot to take away from this season. And I do think that if for a second, if you're not, accounting for the injuries that they suffered, then you're not, showing the whole picture. This has been a season where the injuries were brutal from the word go. And, people saying, well, they trade away all their picks, so they have no depth. Yeah, but the depth got injured, okay, and beyond. So we're talking now. Tyan Secchi goes down with a wrist injury in that game today, and he's like what, the 5th or 6th left tackle to start a game this year at that spot. I mean, it's just irresponsible to act like it's it's not the injuries, or, it's because they don't have depth. They never had it. No, that's not true. Young and Isaac, appreciate you for donating, my man. Family, only thing we can do is stay strong and head to next year. Love y'all, man. PSJ, you're the GOAT, man. Appreciate you, Isaac. It's been a tough year, but, really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Dr. Dingus says Russ Yeast had to go to the hospital for a pulmonary contusion. Some players and coaches are headed to the hospital. Oh man, that sounds really serious. So I hope he's okay. I mean, my God, can we stop with the chest injuries, man? They are no joke. First Damar Hamlin, and now you have this, obviously, albeit not as serious, but still you don't want to downplay any sort of injury. So I wish the best for Russ Yeast. Thought he was playing well this year when called upon. He's been great on special teams. I think they missed him on special teams. So that just sucks. I hope he's okay. What's wrong with McVay? Why is he so burnt out? Well, here's the thing. Okay, now we talked ball as I'm getting ready, right? And just moving up my chair and everything. We talked ball already. So now it's time for me to give you my thoughts on the whole situation. Because I will say this. I've heard multiple things. I've heard things from actual sources. I've heard things from people on the internet, like Florio, right? And I've heard things from Schefter. Like I've been told things personally, and I've heard the outside stuff. One thing I will say, okay, Sean McVay, if he is burnt out, it is not the best move, in my opinion, to just leave. The best move, if you're burned out, is to actually pass the sticks, like Cameron Lynch would say on our show. Okay? The The actual move, if you're burned out, is to push things off your plate. Stop calling the offensive plays. You can't have it all. Okay? He took more stock into the defense. He has more control of the defense, as we know. That's why they let go of Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips was like the training wheels of the operation, allowed Sean McVay to head coach, but also be the offensive coordinator, essentially. Now McVay does almost everything. Okay? He has help, don't get me wrong, but he needs to pass the sticks. He needs a new offensive coordinator to call the plays. Okay? And he needs to give Raheem Morris full control of the defense. Because Raheem Morris basically runs a lot of what McVay wants him to run, because the offense and defense and special teams all go together as a collective unit. They have a game plan. They had a plan going into this year. It was hold them to 20 points with the bend don't break and score more than 20 points, to be as simple as possible to explain that. And that is not what happened. So here's the thing, okay? I like McVay a lot. This is my handpicked guy. There were a lot of people that wanted Patricia. There are people that wanted Shanahan. There are people that wanted Doug Marrone. I wanted Sean McVay. There are live streams of me saying it on Facebook, okay? I've wanted Sean McVay for a while. And then they got Sean McVay, and, I mean, he's been a blessing for what this organization has gone through. But there are still things that bother me about him. Things that I don't think he's gotten better with. And one of those things is the fact that, look, it's the simple thing. It's the thing right in front of you. How about instead of taking time away and saying that you're burned out, how about making yourself less burdened? You know? Like, I deal with burnout. Not on the level of Sean McVay, but I deal with burnout. And you guys know that. I'm very transparent about what I go through, mentally, obviously with depression and everything. I'm very transparent about that. I'm not, shy about telling people where I'm at in life because, whatever. I have nothing to hide. But when you're going through burnout, you also have to do some self-reflecting. Is there anything I need to stop doing? Okay? Am I doing too much? Is there an easier way? And to me, Sean McVay, the easier way is to relinquish the play calling and manage the team. Allows you to get better and focus on being a team manager and focus less on the offense and find a guy that you trust. You can't just bail for burnout without giving this an opportunity, because this is how it looks. Whether you're saying it looks this way or not, this is how it looks. And I'm not accusing him of anything, but if he leaves following a 5-12 season after never going below 500, it looks like I won a Super Bowl. I saw all the money. I was going to retire, but I was like, you know what? We're going to win another one. Then I realized we weren't going to win another one. Then I realized this team might be in trouble, and now I don't want to be a part of it. That's how it looks. To me, there's no, if the burnout excuse is there, like, he can still retire. I'm not saying he can't, right? But keep this in mind, okay? There are different things that you can do. You can solve a problem in multiple ways. You don't just have to leave. So Sean McVay can make whatever decision he wants, and I'll respect him at the end of the day for, being the Rams' turnaround. But I do think that fans have the right to be a little annoyed. And I do think at some point the Rams are going to have to make a decision if they want to keep hearing about this. Like, hey, man, we gave you a 5-year deal, okay? We committed to you, 5-year deal. You committed to us by signing it. If we're going to be dealing with this every single year, every single off season, then maybe it's best that we move on. I think that's a real discussion that you might have to have. And they might be having right now. Because I don't think the Rams are wrong if they're tired of this. And we can't let this stuff get out to the team. How does this look? You're trying to attract a fan base in LA. You're not selling out SoFi Stadium. Not with Rams fans only. Okay? So you're trying to build a fan base in LA, and this comes out. How does this help the fan building experience for the Rams? Let's be honest here. It doesn't. It hurts it. So the drama is there, and it's hurting the team. And, you know, it's like I'm supportive of it. I get, you know, the whole mental health aspect of it. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't necessarily hate the idea of him taking a year off for burnout and maybe making Raheem or making Thomas Brown the interim head coach and just having him take a year off and come back. Fine with that. If that's what he wants to do, fine. But if he's just outward just done because he just can't take it anymore, don't you at least exercise options? Don't you at least look and be like, maybe staying up till 5 a.m. every morning working on the offensive game plan, I should streamline that. You know? Maybe I'm doing too much. I should cut back a little bit. Until you do that, then you're going to be burned out because you have to also lead men. You have to be the face of this franchise. I mean, come on. And then the Florio thing, which, guys, don't listen to Florio. Please don't listen to Florio. Even if he's right, like, this dude, I'm sorry. I don't know how he is on NBC. Some of the stuff that comes out of his, or not out of his mouth, really, because I don't think he's that bad on TV, but he'll type up anything. He'll tweet anything. He'll start anything. But Florio making it sound like Sean McVay is running away from the grind, I'm not buying it. I know how it looks, but he's making it sound like he's not willing to come back to the Rams. Like, he's making it sound like the Rams are about to go into this multi-year rebuild that he doesn't want to be a part of. And I'm sorry, guys. Where would the rebuild be coming from? Where are you rebuilding? You have a 34-year-old quarterback you signed to a 5-year deal. You just gave Aaron Donald a 3-year, $30 million a year deal or whatever they gave him. You signed Jalen Ramsey. You signed Rob Havenstein. You signed Cooper Kupp. You signed Bobby Wagner. Where the hell is the rebuild coming? Like, what? See, this is the thing that doesn't make any sense. There's no rebuild here. So that's why I don't buy it. Because what is Sean McVay rebuilding? What is Les Snead rebuilding? The offensive line? That's not a rebuild. A rebuild is when you completely take over the team. You change everything about the team and you focus on a new face. There's no rebuild. The Rams have a core 5 group of players. If Aaron Donald leaves, they'll figure it out. And oh, by the way, I hate to be that guy, but if Aaron Donald leaves, they do have about $30 million in cap space that comes, with that. So if he retires, they can replace him. I'm not saying that's a great thing to be, without Donald. But could I not also make the argument that Raheem Morris once again showed that this defense, even though they had an awful game last week, this defense didn't fold like a lawn chair like Brandon Staley's did in the playoffs? This defense did not fold like a lawn chair without Aaron Donald. Doesn't mean they were better without Aaron Donald. But surely if you took that money and you gave it to somebody else, if Donald had to retire, then yeah, I think you could figure it out. The defense is not what I'm worried about. It's the offense. The offensive line. And guys, it's not even the offensive line the way you would think, right? I'm worried about the durability. That's what I'm not. See, here's the thing. Not everybody in the NFL, like the Rams could have another season like this if like they have another bunch of injuries. I don't think you should be banking on another season with a bunch of injuries like they had this, right? So this is the thing. This is where the Rams come into play, because the Rams have guys on the offensive line where this wasn't just this is a bad season with injuries. This is like Noteboom's fourth injury, third injury, also an Achilles tear. Always have to worry about that. Brian Allen can't stay healthy. Coleman Shelton had some issues. I mean, there are injuries everywhere. David Edwards is going to be a free agent, and he's coming off multiple concussions. It's not just retooling the offensive line for the sake of doing it. It's the fact that I'm not even concerned about the lack of talent. I think they have plenty of talent. Everyone stays healthy. Okay? If they had a healthy offensive line, it's a completely different season. But the problem is that the offensive line is full of guys that are very susceptible to getting injured. That's what they are. The offensive line is very injury prone. Let's just call it like it is. So they're going to have to figure that whole thing out. They're going to have to figure out Allen Robinson. Do they want to give him $15 million next year? I don't know. Do they give Allen Robinson $15 million next year? No idea. Do they trade him? I think there's more of a chance that they trade him. Is Brian Cooks an option? I don't think so if McVay is planning on leaving. And I think that's the thing. If McVay leaves, like, where do they go? Do they go interior wise? Like, do they stick in-house? Do they go outside? Because here's what I'll say. If McVay leaves, this is how you do the minimal damage to this team. You try to talk McVay to come back next year. You name Thomas Brown the interim head coach. Raheem Morris is your defensive coordinator, now has full control of the defense, can run it how he wants to run it. Your offensive coordinator is Zach Robinson, who Sean McVay has been developing. And then that is how you work at it. And then you have Eric Henderson become the defensive coordinator, or Chris Shula become the defensive coordinator. You keep everything in-house. That way there's not a lot of turnover. There's not a lot of onboarding. There's not a lot of different movement. And so that way, with a third place schedule next year, you keep the core group of guys kind of similar. People saying Thomas Brown can't be a head coach. If worst comes to worst, I absolutely think he can. He was the assistant head coach the year they literally won the Super Bowl. Okay, he's been the assistant head coach 3 years running. So yeah, I trust the guy to be the head coach if need be. But you make him the interim. You tell him, look, there's a chance Sean McVay is going to come back next year. We're going to need you this year. Can you do it? If he says yes, fine. You figure that out. If he ends up being great, maybe you stick with him. Sean McVay stays in retirement. If you don't want to stick with him, McVay comes back. You can now either trade him away because you would have his rights, right? You could trade him away if a team wants him. You could also do the same with McVay if you wanted to keep Brown. Or, he leaves, right? And then you get, 2 third-round draft picks. So, look, that's how I would do it. But if we're not doing it that way, McVay leaves and they want to reset, they want to get rid of everything, then fine. If I'm going with anybody outside the organization, there are 2 names that are on my mind, and one I don't think is getting fired because he made the playoffs, and that is Mike McDaniel. The other one is also a former 49ers coach. I say former, he's a current coach. It's DeMeco Ryans. You want to hit the 49ers hard? Go and steal DeMeco Ryans from them and see how great their defense continues to be. So that's what I would say about that. I personally would be more about sticking in-house. That's where I would want to be, okay? Maybe you look outside. Maybe you look at Harbaugh. I'm not a big fan of Sean Payton. I know there's a lot of people that are like, Sean Payton's better than Sean McVay. No, Sean Payton is not better than Sean McVay. Okay, this is what we need to realize. Okay, I know everyone loves Sean Payton, but Sean Payton has multiple seasons with Drew Brees and a lot of talent around him where they went 7-9 or 8-8 or 9-7. Okay, so I don't see how he's a very good coach, but he's also very overrated because he's considered this elite, top-notch coach. He won 1 Super Bowl, And really, that's the difference between him and like Jeff Fisher, for instance, because Fisher had a bunch of 8-8 seasons and we ran him out of town. But you look at Sean Payton, it's like he has a bunch of 8-8 seasons. Well, it was a tough year for Sean. He'll figure it out. No, it's ridiculous. Okay, we got to stop with the Sean Payton talk. If Sean McVay retires, we shouldn't be happy about the idea of getting Sean Payton. Also, here's why Payton wouldn't happen. The Rams have to give up draft picks for him, which, guys, giving up draft picks for a coach, can I just explain to you how ridiculous that sounds? Because if you don't realize how ridiculous it sounds, it's ridiculous. But anyway, giving up draft picks for a coach is insane, especially where the Rams are right now with picks. And number two, think about this. This is very important here. Number two, Sean Payton would want full control of the front office. So when you hire Sean Payton's also not just your head coach. He's also your general manager. Those don't work well. Belichick hasn't done a great job of the GMing, I would say, recently. And I would also bring up Bill O'Brien. I would bring up guys like that who have completely made a mockery of the GM spot. And now all of a sudden, Les Snead, who's done a good job, who put together a team that, yes, Sean McVay coached, but Les Snead put together a team that was in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl last year. Now you're saying he has to go too? No, I don't think this is how it should work. I don't think just because Sean McVay wants to leave, the Rams should bend the knee and now all of a sudden be like, you know what? Now that Sean McVay's leaving, let's get rid of his entire coaching staff. Let's get rid of Les Snead. Let's blow it all up. That's stupid. And it's not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen because the Rams have too much riding on that to not happen. They have way too much talent to even try this. Donald still could come back. Do you think Donald wants to end his last game in the NFL? Do you think it wants to end in Kansas City? Do you really think that Kansas City 24-10 game, you think that's what Donald wants it to be his last game? Really? Do you really think Donald came back to lose, to have a season like this? Stafford already said on the podcast, his wife's podcast, I'm coming back. Like, I'm not leaving, basically. Like, are you retiring? No. Okay, that's it. Like, and then this whole, Stafford might change his mind if McVay goes. Give me a break, okay? If McVay goes, Stafford's not leaving. Do you think Stafford ever left Detroit when he had to deal with guys like Matt Patricia? Really? You want to tell me Stafford's going to leave now because he lost his coach? You think that's what's keeping Stafford going? Do you think that's what's keeping Stafford in the NFL? Not the 5-year deal that is paying him, tons of millions of dollars. Not the fact that he's in LA. Not the fact he's finally the face and he's loved and he's a winner. Not the fact that he's got Cooper Kupp to throw to. I mean, again, I don't want to discount how important Sean McVay has been to this team, but if he were to leave, I don't think that they would fall off a freaking cliff. I just don't, because I think they have a lot going for them. Next year, they have a 3rd place schedule. That is guaranteed. They'd be playing teams like the Colts. So they got what? The Colts? Who's in 3rd place? Let's look at who's in 3rd place, because I think everything gets figured out tonight. Everything gets figured out tonight. Right now, the Packers are in 3rd, even though the Lions are eliminated. That is really odd. So if the Packers win, the Rams would play the Lions next year. So here's the Rams' 3rd place schedule next year. They're going to play the Patriots, the Steelers, the Colts, the Raiders, the Giants, the Packers, Lions. Loser of that game, they would play the Saints, and that's it. So that's who they would play. Okay. I'm sorry. I think that they got an opportunity next year, and, we'll see where it goes. They got plenty of talent, and they have a chance now to really kind of suck everything in, take everything in. They lose McVay. Okay, they'll figure it out. They got a lot of talent, and they have now an opportunity to look at these guys and be like, hey, if we want to make an upgrade in the secondary and we feel really good about the rest of the defense, there you go. If, hey, we want to add something to the offense that maybe we should have added, but we didn't because Sean didn't want him or whatever, that's another thing. I mean, don't discount the fact maybe Sean McVay wanted certain things to happen that maybe Cotton went against what the Rams wanted to do, what Snead wanted to do, and now maybe they get to run things a different way. That's also a possibility. So, there's that. Yeah, but here's the thing though. Okay. Sean McVay just had the 5-12 season. So if you take away the 5-12 season, it's not at 61%. So, all right, let's go because I know I had. Okay, cool. I might have missed. I don't know why they don't keep it. I can't see any super chats. I don't know why. Where's my super chat history? What's up, Jake? Doing a great job, man. Not the season we wanted, but I'm a diehard Ram no matter what. Just a thought on Jalen Ramsey. Dude had really nothing to play for the last couple weeks and has absolutely balled out. Maybe my new favorite Ram. Matthew, thank you so much for the very kind donation. And I absolutely agree with you. You know, Ramsey was the butt of all jokes to end the season. Let's be honest here. He was. I don't think he was treated very fairly. He's asked to do a lot more than most corners in the league. He doesn't just get to shadow whoever. He does, you know, he gets hit hard and, you know, he gets put in positions to, I guess, sometimes fail. And he never once really complained about it this year. It was a tough year. That's another thing. There's a lot of stuff that went down, and we did not once hear any sort of controversy in the locker room or anything like that. So, you know, you got to give a lot of respect to, you know, everybody in the locker room. They kept this, even though they were a 5-12 team, they kept it a good environment. It felt like a good locker room. It felt like a locker room that had some leaders in it and had some chemistry. So that's always a really good thing there. You know, and I don't think that gets talked about nearly enough. So do we trade Jalen for picks? I guess if you do that, you might as well blow this thing up. However, how else do we build depth on this team? I don't think you trade Jalen for picks. No, I don't think so. There's a lot more than that. You know, I think that's the thing. There's more to it than just that. You can't just trade, you know, a guy like that away and just be like, well, you know, we'll have picks for him. I don't think their depth is that bad, but also there's a lot unsolved. Right now on the roster, it wouldn't tell the full story. We'll see how the YouTube money goes because the YouTube TV is going to take over the NFL Sunday Ticket. As we know, with the NBA contracts, the ESPN TV deal was massive for them, allowed them to propel that market. But just looking at it, you know, a multi-year summary here, just looking at it right now, Matthew Stafford is under contract through 2026, okay? Under contract through 2026. Everyone else is a free agent. Now, John Wolford is a restricted free agent. Bryce Perkins is an exclusive rights free agent. Realistically speaking, exclusive rights free agents, if you are a player that the team likes, okay? If you're somebody that they like, you'll be back. So Bryce Perkins is probably going to be back. You know, Baker Mayfield didn't have a great end to the year. The last 2 games were very iffy. We'll see. Maybe he's affordable. If he wants to come back and be a backup for, you know, Stafford, okay. But right now, who knows? So then you look at running backs. And with running backs, Cam Akers is now a restricted free agent, which is, it's listed incorrect on Spotrac, but he's now a restricted free agent in 2024, which makes him more likely that he could stay with the Rams long term. So that's a big thing there. He isn't a restricted free agent until 2024, so they do have next year for Akers, and he can be that go-to running back. Then you have Kyren Williams under contract until 2026, so you feel good about those two, obviously, moving forward. We had, Kevin Demoff went on a podcast, and it was Ricky Hollywood's podcast, and he went on the podcast and said Ronnie Rivers by name, like a guy that they're excited about. So Ronnie Rivers, exclusive rights free agent in 2024, is a guy that will be around. So those are probably those 3 backs. They'll probably draft a guy. Malcolm Brown is a free agent after the year. I don't see them bringing him back, and he didn't play at all today. So that's kind of telling. Cooper Kupp is signed through 2026. You have Allen Robinson, he's signed through 2024 and he's a free agent in 2025. Look, Allen Robinson, it's going to depend on a lot. Okay. Next year, his money next year is $18 million. So it was $4 million on the cap last year or this year, $4.3 million, and they backloaded it. So next year is 18 and the year after is 18.5. Okay. So do the Rams want to, go with this, or do they want to move on from A-Rob? And that's the question. Kupp is good. You have Kupp through 2026. You don't trade a guy like that. So you have the best receiver in football under contract and through 2026. Allen Robinson, you have under contract through 2024, but that's not a guarantee, right? Not a guarantee. Van Jefferson, you have under contract through 2023, just like Cam Akers, same draft, but he's an unrestricted free agent. So the Rams would have to, they wouldn't have any sort of restriction on him. He would be a full-on unrestricted free agent in 2024. Something to think about. Do they move on from him? Are they okay with everything that's going on with him? He's very cheap. I don't know why you would move on from Van Jefferson. $1.5 million this year, $1.7 next year. Not going to cost you much with the rookie wage scale the way it is. Then you have Tutu Atwell, who's under contract through 2024. He becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2025. Again, the last thing you're going to do is start meddling around with high draft picks that cost nothing. Tutu Atwell, $1.3 million this year, $1.6 million next year, $1.8 million in 2024. He's not going anywhere. It would make no sense for him to go anywhere. So you likely see Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell on the roster next year. I don't know about Allen Robinson. I don't think there's a guaranteed answer there. We'll see. Then you got Brandon Powell, who's a free agent in 2023, unrestricted. Could totally see a lot of teams being interested in him because he's been utilized in the offensive side of the ball. Kind of looking, a little bit at what, the Chargers have done with DeAndre Carter. Teams could look at him as like their own little Swiss Army knife. So he could have a market, not a big market, but he could have something there. We'll see, but I think Powell could definitely, there's something in play there. Powell could be back, but he could also have a little bit of a market there. Ben Skoranek, cheap as all hell. Okay, $846K this year, $961K next year, and barely over 1,000 cap hit in 2024. He's a free agent in 2025. He's going nowhere. So the receiver room right now that you feel really good about is that you have Kupp, you have Van, you have Tutu Atwell, you have Ben Skoranek, all through 2024. Okay, so at least all of them are available through 2024. Then you have to wonder, you have Allen Robinson, but do you continue on with Allen Robinson, right? So that's a big thing there. Lance McCutcheon you have until 2025 when he becomes a restricted free agent. They'll probably keep him around. I don't think he's a guy that they look at long-term as going to be like a really key piece. A fun guy in preseason, no doubt, but he didn't really do anything in the regular season with some opportunities. JJ Koski becomes a free agent, restricted free agent in 2024. Again, not somebody that I'm really worried about for them. Austin Trammell becomes the exclusive rights free agent in 2024. And Jacob Harris actually is not. He's going to be a free agent, I believe, in 2023. So, the receiver room, I think they add a guy, I think they subtract A-Rob and I think they add a guy. If they keep A-Rob, okay, things change, right? But I don't see them keeping A-Rob. I think they move on. I think they either go out and they get Robert Woods, who I think is going to be a cap casualty, for the Titans. Or I could see them, potentially going after Brandon Cooks if Sean McVay stays, or some other, realm of possibility. There's probably some receivers out there you could be interested in. James Washington is a little interesting one. OBJ, I see a lot of people mentioning in the comments section. Wouldn't say OBJ is out of the question either. So that's definitely interesting. Looking at the tight ends here, you have Tyler Higbee, who is actually a free agent in 2024. So because Higbee would be a free agent in 2024, maybe they look in the draft or somebody in free agency. Hopkins is also an unrestricted free agent in 2024. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. they'll have both of those guys next year. Do they add another? I think they do. So we'll see there. Offensive line. Rob Havenstein signed until 2026. Okay. So he is signed until 2026. Noteboom is signed until 2025 is when he would be a free agent. Edwards is a free agent this upcoming offseason. Brian Allen is a free agent in 2025. Shelton is a free agent in 2024. Ankram's a free agent in 2024. Ode Abushi is a free agent this upcoming offseason. I would hope that they will try to keep him. Alaric Jackson is a restricted free agent in 2024. Skura is a free agent this offseason. They have Bruss until 2026. He becomes a free agent. Inseki is a free agent. Zach Thomas is an exclusive rights free agent in 2024. Chandler Brewer is a free agent after the season. And AJ Curry is a free agent in 2026. So, okay, offensive line, Havenstein, they're not getting rid of him, okay? Guy was healthy the whole year. He wasn't the best I've seen him, but he was healthy all year. He adds that stability. He's been durable. A guy that's played, multiple seasons, over 1,000 snaps in a season. So you got to give it to him. Havenstein staying. Noteboom, no clue. He's coming off a terrifying injury. 30 to 40% of NFL players retire after suffering a torn Achilles. And so Joseph Noteboom may never make it back. I don't know. Okay. But that injury is serious. We'll see where he's at. We'll see if the Rams decide to move on from him. We'll see if they move him to guard. We don't know what they're going to do with him. But that number is going to be $15.5 million next year. And then in 2024, it's going to be $17 million. So it was $3.5 million this year, a really good bargain for the Rams. But now they're in a little bit of a hole here, having to pay him $15.5 next year on the cap. Edwards is a free agent. We'll see if they bring him back. They could get him cheap because of the head injuries and all of that. We'll see. Brian Allen, $1.8 million, his first year. This year under contract, 6.8 next year, 7.8 in 2024. So they backloaded these deals, really thinking this year was a repeat season, which makes sense. I mean, you thought it was going to happen. It literally could not have backfired any worse. Do you keep Brian Allen? We'll see. Coleman Shelton, very cheap deals. He's not going anywhere. He'll be a free agent after 2024. It's more likely they extend Shelton, I would say, than keep Brian Allen and Noteboom through those contracts. So that's what I'll say there. Ow, that hurt. Tremaine Ankram, very cheap deal. Just barely above $1 million in 2023. Free agent in 2024. He's not going anywhere. Abushi, he's a free agent. Do they bring him back? I don't know. Alaric Jackson, very cheap next year, $946K. Then he's a restricted free agent. Have to imagine they'll tender him. They'll keep him. They like him a lot. As long as he comes back from the blood clots, A-OK. They really, really, really like Alaric Jackson in that locker room. They really like him. Rams brass likes him. So he's a guy that has a future, I think, with this team. Matt Skura, free agent. I don't know if they bring him back. We'll see. Logan Bruss, going to be cheap. That deal is very, very, very friendly because they got him at the end of the third. He's not going anywhere. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to start next year and show some strides. Suffered a torn ACL this offseason. Really unfortunate. I was at a movie theater, and that's normally when that shit happens. So blame me. Ty Inseki, $596K this year, was signed, desperation signing, whatever. He is a free agent. I would very much like him back on a cheap deal to be the backup. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't rule anything out with him. Zach Thomas is a guy they like long-term. It's why they gave him that deal, because now he'll be an exclusive rights free agent in 2024. So Zach Thomas is going to be around the Rams, I think. Chandler Brewer, we'll see if they bring him back. He started the last game for the Rams this season, so we'll see. Could be pretty affordable, only $312K. And then AJ Curry, very cheap deal, will be a free agent in 2026, so there's no need to get rid of him. When you're dealing with so many backloaded and expensive players, you just don't really, you don't expect to get rid of anybody who's cheap, or you don't want to get rid of anybody who has a cheap deal. And I think it's really that simple. Jared Pinkney, for what it's worth, was signed to the active roster. I forgot to mention that. He is an exclusive rights free agent now in 2023. So they will be able to tender him and all of that. Defensive now. We go over the defense. That's the offense. Defensive line. Aaron Donald is signed through 2024, will be a free agent in 2025. His contract this year, $27 million. Next year, $26 million. The year after that, $34 million against the cap. Guy Smithson, thank you so much for donating. Really appreciate you there. Really appreciate you there. Really helps out the channel. And again, appreciate all you guys donating. Really means a lot. A'Shawn Robinson will be a free agent. Okay. He got hurt. It was $9.5 million against the cap this year. I think they got to try to get him back. He is so important against the run. If they can pay him, if they can actually afford him, it makes a lot of sense. I could see them not doing it because they have other guys. Marquise Copeland, exclusive rights free agent this year. He's the guy I 100% expect to be back. Michael Hoyt is also an exclusive rights free agent who I 100% expect to be back. He's listed as a defensive tackle on Spotrac. That's why I brought him up. But I think that he's going to go through that health program, and he's going to get to the point where they really have him in shape to be an outside linebacker. So those two guys I think will be back. Greg Gaines, I'd love to see him back. He's an unrestricted free agent this upcoming season. He's going to make a lot of money. We'll see if it's with the Rams. Jonah Williams, restricted free agent in 2024, so he's still good to go for next year. Bobby Brown is a guy they're really starting to come on. I mean, they really liked him before, but now he's starting to come on in the most recent games. He's not a free agent until 2025, and he's got a really team-friendly deal. I mean, we're talking he only had $739K against the cap this year, 1.1 next year, 1.2 million the year after. Daniel Hardy being a 7th round pick, very cheap deal, doesn't get accelerated to $1 million until 2024, and he's a free agent after the 2026 season, or after the 2025 season. Laurel Murchison, they actually, because they claimed him, Murchison's Titans contract comes over to the Rams, and he will be a free agent in 2024. So he will be ready to go next year. That's a good thing there. TJ Carter, not to be mistaken with the other TJ Carter on the roster that played today in the safety room. TJ Carter, exclusive rights free agent. We'll see what ends up happening with him. Ernest Brown, I believe, he'll be a free agent after the 2023 season. So he's got one more season to go. We'll see if they end up keeping Brown around, but he's starting to play pretty well when he got an opportunity late in the season. So we'll be interested to see that. With the linebackers, Leonard Floyd. I get asked all the time, Jake, you talk about Leonard Floyd. He's playing so very well. But is there any sort of reason why we should trade him? And what I will say is this, okay? I don't know how you can justify paying Leonard Floyd the same amount as Von Miller, but at the same time, I don't know how you could justify life without Leonard Floyd. Because if you don't have Leonard Floyd on this roster right now, your pass rushers are Keir Thomas, okay, who I like. Again, I like him. Keir Thomas, Daniel Hardy, and Mike Hoyt. And I mean, do you feel great about that room? No, you need a guy that's going to take over. So Leonard Floyd, $8 million against the cap this year, was backloaded on his deal. $22 million this upcoming season, 22.5 the year after. He's a free agent in 2025. So those are a pretty big acceleration of dollars. $17 million they're paying him more next year. We'll see what happens there. Bobby Wagner was only $2.5 million against the cap this year. He's going to be $12.7 next year, $12 million in 2024, $11.5 in 2025, and $12 million in 2026. So he's a free agent in 2027. He's a guy that I don't know if he'll play the whole contract out, but man, he better be an all-pro this year because he had a great year. I think he was the Rams MVP, voted on by the teammates. I agree with them on that. He was phenomenal. Ernest Jones, very, very affordable contract, isn't a free agent, which is great because he's going to get the bank when he does become a free agent until 2025. only hits 1.5 million at the most, and that's until 2024. So he's going to be under 1.5 million a year on the cap, so that's a good thing there. Christian Roseboom is an exclusive rights free agent. I think they'll probably bring him back. Jake Hummel is a restricted free agent in 2025. You have Traven Howard, who's an exclusive rights free agent in 2023. We'll see what happens with him. They've kind of gone back and forth with having him and not having him. Keir Thomas is an exclusive rights free agent in 2024. So they have him for the future. And we look at the secondary. And you have Jalen Ramsey, who's a free agent in 2026. You have Taylor Rapp, who's going to be a free agent. I don't expect him to be back. Ramsey will be $23.2 million. He was $23.2 million this year, goes up to $25.2 next year, $26.7 the year after, and then back down to 22.7 in the final year of his contract. Troy Hill is a free agent after the season, was only 2.5 million against the cap. Well, I don't know if he'll be back, but he was 2.5 million against the cap, and now he's a free agent. David Long is a free agent. They have Rochelle until 2025. Nick Scott's a free agent, very affordable deal, and now he'll be a free agent. We'll see what ends up happening with him. Jordan Fuller is a free agent in 2024. I don't see him going anywhere. Very cheap deal there. Jacoby Durant is a free agent in 2026, a very affordable contract there. Jake Gervais, exclusive rights free agent. Darion Kendrick is a free agent in 2026, as well as Russ East and Quentin Lake, all very affordable deals. Grant Haley is a free agent after the season. Sean Jolly is an exclusive rights free agent, and that is your secondary. And then finally here to wrap this up, and I appreciate you guys all listening. It doesn't look like a lot of people left, so that's cool. We had Matt Gay, who's going to be a free agent he's going to be a free agent this year. So I guess he only signed a 1-year deal. So we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, I can't imagine them letting Matt Gay go. They have to bring him back. Riley Dixon is a free agent, and so is Matthew Orzech. So there's a chance that the Rams will be interested in a punter. It's another draft where, we might have to watch punter film. But, man, that was a lot. But, when I get asked questions, like where are they in this and that and all, I'm interested to at least at the very least break it down. So, that will be that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they can go, and, we'll have plenty of videos on it and everything, but, we'll see, man. Right now they have -3 million cap space. So, I mean, those are the facts right now. According to Spotrac, here are the calculated market values according to Spotrac for the Rams. You have, let's see, I got to sort by team. 1 second. Let's see here. Okay. Taylor Rapp is calculated to get $10 million a year, 3 years, $30 million. And I totally could see a team paying him that. I think the Rams will get a pretty decent pick for Taylor Rapp. I think so. I think they're going to get a 5th round compensatory pick for Taylor Rapp. I think you take that for sure. A'Shawn Robinson, ideal contract, calculated market value, 3 years, $24 million. I think the Rams could do that if they want to. He's 26 years old. That's somebody I think I would consider paying if I can. Greg Gaines, 4 years, $31 million. That's just a tick under $8 million a year. I also think the Rams could do that. He's 25 years old. They have Baker Mayfield, who's 27. The average annual value there is at $6.5 million. The calculated market value is a 2-year, $13 million deal. That is something that I feel like Sean McVay and company could decide to do after this season. If as long as McVay comes back, I think this season kind of spooked them, not having a backup quarterback they really trusted to run the offense the way they want to run it. And so I could see that that would be affordable, but we'll see. I mean, do they want to spend $6 million on a backup quarterback? I don't know. Does he not get paid more? I don't know. Matt Gay, 4 years, $20 million. That's a $5.1 million market value. They might have to do it. Matt Gay is their MVP aside from Bobby Wagner. He was a monster this year for them, scored a ton of points for them. I don't think that they can afford to not have Matt Gay. So would I sign him to a 4-year deal? Absolutely. I'd figure it out afterwards. Troy Hill, 1 year, $3.6 million calculated market value. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Ode Abushi, 2 years, $4.2 million market value. I think the Rams can do that. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, a lot to take in, obviously. A lot to talk. Wow, that's a lot of words speaking in an hour. But, point is, okay, there's a lot of stuff we're going to have to cover on this channel. So you're going to, your best to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and just keep following, keep on trucking with this train over here on the channel, because we're not done. We're not going anywhere. I plan on having more NFL centric content, but not instead of. I'm going to have plenty of Rams content. So there's a lot of stuff that we will get to talk about. It'll be fun. We'll make it fun. It's going to be tough. I'm sure the offseason will be transformative. We've already seen a little bit of that. It was kind of showed to us last year when Robert Woods, the whole nobody's safe type deal. Love you too, Eddie. Appreciate you. But I think we've kind of already broken into it, right? I mean, I fell in love with the player. Alec Ogletree initially, was a huge fan of his. And, he was the first move in the Sean McVay less need era. Like, hey, let's sign this guy to a multi-year deal. They signed him to a $4 or $5 million deal. And now, they trade him just like that. That's the business. And so we'll see what ends up happening. But, I don't know. A lot of things can go down. And, I just, at the end of the day, I really do think the Rams will be back next year. And I know it seems bleak, and I understand your pain. Trust me, I understand it. I understand the negativity. I understand, the lack of confidence. I understand the anger. But keep in mind, this team has way more talent than teams in the past that we've seen from the Rams who had better records. Think about it. There have been Rams teams in the past that went 7-9 or 8-8. And we were like annoyed that they kept going 7-9, 8-8. They had better records than this team, I think, was better even with all those injuries. I think you can look at this in the negative way, and I think you're justified in doing so. But I think you look at it in the positive way. Look at the fact they have a third place schedule. If Sean McVay leaves, they can keep everybody intact and, kind of keep the same thing going and just keep everything in house and figure it out year by year. You still have Matthew Stafford, potentially, you have Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner isn't going anywhere, Jalen Ramsey, Cooper Kupp. And then, you have a running back in Cam Akers who the last three games, he's gone over 100 all 3 games. He finished off the season exactly how you would have wanted him to. So Akers kind of gets you a little excited. I mean, I do think there's definitely some caution there. You have to worry a little bit about the consistency. Does he fall off next year? All of that. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot to be somewhat optimistic about next year. And just to know, look, man, like, let's be honest. Okay? Like, the injuries. Like, let's just, can we address the elephant in the freaking room? Like, can we stop just acting like this team is just dog water? They were in every game. They finished the season in every single game except for the one last week. That is what I'm going to hold on to. When I look at this season, I'm going to look at what could have happened. I'm going to look at the fact that it just got to the point where, it just got to the point where nothing went their way. And that happens. It does. But at the end of the day, man, I don't regret doing this. I don't regret covering this team or being a fan of this team. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I never jumped on it. As far as I'm concerned, I was part of the collective effort to create the bandwagon, stuck by them, watched Scott Covington, watched Marshall Faulk, be the emergency backup quarterback on Monday Night Football in a game that they were already done. Like the season was over. I remember watching Dre Bly rip the ball right out of Garrison Hurst's hands of the 49ers, running it back for a touchdown. I think they won 30-20 or 31-21. But I remember moments like that. I remember watching AJ Feely on Halloween go against Matt Moore and the awful Panthers and the awful Rams. I watched it all. And while I know there are Niners fans that are always in my mentions and all that, and all sorts of people that are in my mentions and call me a bandwagon and all that because I'm in New York and I like the Rams. Oh my God. Never heard that before. But no. I wish I was a bandwagon. The amount of pain that I went through being in school, getting bullied for your team being bad. I'll never forget, I bought a Robert Quinn jersey and got bullied because people were like, who the hell's Robert Quinn? He ended up being pretty good, but it's just, I don't know. It's funny, man. It's funny. Just enjoy this whole process. It was a bad year. You're going to get a lot of hate from people, but like, whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't affect you personally. It doesn't affect you at all, really. The season's over. Nothing you can do to really change it. But, that's that. I was bummed for, the Lions fans that follow this channel religiously. Appreciate you guys, by the way. I was bummed for you guys, because I feel like, going back to that game, I feel like you guys were screwed. I feel like the Rams were screwed. It was just you ever hear about the Montreal screw job with Bret Hart? And that went beyond, it went beyond the whole everything, right? It wasn't just wrestling, like it wasn't just scripted. It was like a screw job. Like it was really messed up. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And I felt like this was the Seattle screw job. And I honestly don't think that the NFL had anything to do with it. I really don't. Because why would the NFL want to devalue tonight's game? That it just doesn't make any sense to me. The winner takes all. Why would you devalue that? Why would you stick your nose into there? No, none of the decisions they made came from the league office. They came from the league headquarters. Notice that? They didn't review any of those plays. They just ran ahead and made them. So, I don't know. I kind of felt like there were some ulterior motives with the officiating. It felt very one-sided. I don't know why. I know Craig Rolstad, the head official, is from Seattle, and they played the Seattle Seahawks, so, figure that out. But, I don't know, man. I do know that we are winding this thing down. I appreciate you guys so much for following me all season long. It has been a long and winding road, as Paul McCartney of the Beatles would say. But you know what? I'm still here. We're still here, and, we'll have a whole off season. Well, you got 2 podcasts on this channel. You got an NFL show coming soon. So you got plenty of stuff on this channel. I owe it to you guys to be better with getting content out. I was very consistent with that. Then I started kind of falling off a little bit. Let's be honest here. I need to put out more content. I need to be better, and I will be better. So look out for short form, long form, live streams. By the way, the live streams don't die just because the NFL season's over for the Rams, okay? Still going to do the live streams. Those will be fun. Still want to do, the morning show that I was planning on, the JE Radio. I am planning on committing to that. Now, it's hard for me to get up super early in the morning because I don't sleep well. So, as far as super early, I'm not getting up at 6 or 7 because I'm pretty much up at 6 because I can't sleep. But, I'm definitely going to try and do that. And I'll try to do, random gaming streams sound like fun. I don't know if you guys like, Nintendo Switch or old school Game Boy Advance and shit like that. But I was thinking about doing some retro live streams where I play some retro games and maybe some old school Pokemon, Fire Emblem, stuff like that, and just talk to you guys. So, just trying to mix it up a little bit. I like the gaming streams. I like doing that. And I like showing that I'm not just, at the end of the day, I'm not just a football analyst. I have a personality. I don't mean that like to toot my own horn, but like I'm more than just an analyst. I'm also a personality, right? And I feel like we all kind of have that understanding. But for people that are new to the channel, that's that. These likes don't look like appreciation. You're funny, man. Let's see. Yeah, be sure to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. Get the like. Yeah, there we go. We got the double digits. Nathan, thank you so much for donating. You should make an all 22 reviewing the refs and have it blow up. JK, great season, man. Love being a part of this community. Look forward to every video you post. Nathan, appreciate you. I should do it. I don't know if I should. I mean, I should, but I shouldn't. That whole deal. I'm planning on making a pretty cool Cam Akers video. Because I want to. Gonna do more, stuff with obviously Cam Lynch and I got a lot of, shit to do. Appreciate you, Josh. Appreciate you, Matthew. Thank you, Charles. We got a lot of stuff to do. So Cam and I are going to continue doing Believe in Rams. That podcast will not die. Okay. So we're going to continue doing that week in and week out. It's not going to be 2 episodes a week because there's not a game to preview and post game and all that. But we're going to do it week in, week out. So that I'm excited about. We're going to have story time with Cam. Cam, for those of you who don't know, Cameron Lynch, my co-host of Believe in Rams, played in the NFL, played for the Rams. He's going to have stories. We're going to have story time with Cam. We're going to learn about, his time in the NFL, and that'll be fun. We're going to have interviews. Also, Alexis and I. Downtown Rams isn't going anywhere. Downtown Rams podcast. Alexis and I are going to be interviewing a lot of prospects. We're going to have our NFL show at some point. That'll be a live show every Friday. So keep that in mind. Could delve a little bit into the XFL, / USFL. I don't know where we're going with that. Also could delve into more sports. But yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is the Jake Ellenbogen channel. I've kind of rebranded my channel a little bit. So I went away from just the Jets and Rams color scheme. And really, my color scheme is blue and yellow. I know it's the Rams color scheme too, but that's always how I've looked at myself. Blue and yellow is like my favorite combination. I like all sorts of teams that have all sorts of different color combinations, but nothing speaks to me like blue and yellow. So that is why, if you notice, my channel has a different banner. I'm going in a different direction, not just focusing on just Jets and Rams, not trying to brand it in a certain way, just making it about my channel. Maybe, we'll see. I mean, I want to be worth that, though. You know what I mean? I don't want to just put out hockey content if I'm not putting out my best stuff. I think it's more likely we'll talk more about the Lakers. I've wanted to do that for a while. I've been watching them constantly. I want to talk more betting. I did Bogan's bets last year. That did nothing. But I do want to talk more betting as well. So there's that. But man, I am getting exhausted. I remember when I first started, I used to do these 3, 4, 5 hours and it didn't faze me because I'd be in my office. But I don't know, maybe this chair just isn't that comfortable anymore. But yeah, again, appreciate you guys. It's been a season. It's not the way I wanted to sign off because last year I signed off and the Rams were Super Bowl champions. This year they didn't even make the damn playoffs. So they're 3rd in the NFC West. But it's how it has to be. So for JE Live, this is the last live stream of the 2022 to 2023 NFL season covering the LA Rams. I appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of agony, but we've gone through it together and we'll go through it together some more. So keep an eye out for more content. I'll continue to work on it. If you got any suggestions, always be sure to reach out to me. You don't know how much of a money maker your suggestion could be for the channel as well. And I don't mean just revenue. I mean just like the views and people really liking it. So, you got suggestions, just let me know. And that's going to be that. So appreciate you guys. I'm Jake Ellenbogen once again, and I am signing off until next time. Later, folks.